It's all takes songbook. Turn to page 34. He keeps me singing. Page 34. Charlie's favorite song. He was singing it earlier today. Here we go. There's within my heart a melody. Jesus whispers sweet and low. Fear not, I am with thee. Peace be still in all of life's ebb and flow. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know. Fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. All my life was wrecked by sin and strife. Discord filled my heart with pain. Jesus swept across the broken strings, stirred the slumbering chords again. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know. Fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Last verse. Soon he's coming back to welcome me, far beyond the starry sky. I shall wing my flight to worlds unknown. I shall reign with him on high. Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know. Fills my every longing, keeps me singing as I go. Thank you. Have a seat. Does anybody have a spoken prayer request tonight? I have one. Bruce is in the hospital. Double pneumonia with lung cancer and all that's going on. And just he was in, I guess, in intensive care today. Is that right, Tammy? Just pray for him. But he did say when Patty got to talk to him on the phone, the nurse held the phone up to him. He said, "Tell everyone I can feel their prayers." So that is a big thing. He's asking us to continue to pray for him, and from the get go, from the time he and Patty both found out they have cancer, they've never asked for healing. They've never been asked. They have not asked us to pray for healing. They just asked for God to use them through this thing. So to me, it's a marvelous testimony that they both have anyway. Their whole life has been that testimony, God's saving grace, what He does for people, and how He changes lives. But he can feel. He says He can feel our prayers. So everybody keep in your prayers, okay? Keep Patty in your prayers too, because she's going through treatments and she's handling this too. Anybody else with a spoken request? There's a little boy that lives up here on Pinewood. That's a 13-year-old boy having heart surgery and all kinds of stuff going on. Just keep that boy in your, Zachary, I think is his name. Keep him in your prayers, okay? Anybody else? Yeah, 13-year-old boy died just playing basketball. Just a healthy kid, played ball, and just died from a heart condition. Whether it's pre-existing, if they knew about it, didn't know about it, we don't know that part yet. But that's sad. All right, anybody else? Anybody with an unspoken request, something you want to pray about, not to mention out loud? All right, Charlie, we lead some prayer. Amen. All right, the only announcement that we have is hopefully after this week that the churches will all be open, that the gathering thing will be changed, and we will be able to gather, the whole church will be able to come together on Sunday, May 10th, which is Mother's Day, and we'll hopefully be able to make that a big day for everyone to come in. I mean, there's been times the last few weeks we had 35 35 families watching from home, or 28 families watching from home, which is tremendous. But we love to hear. Like I've called people and say, I just want to hear your voice. I sort of want to see you. We stood up. We went to Patty Bruce's and cut the grass the other night. Ted and David Underwood and Mark and I went and we cut the grass and stood around talking and just standing around talking and laughing for a few minutes. It's part of what you miss about having everybody with you, for services. So pray that Sunday, May 10th, we'll all be able to get back together. Okay, anybody got testimony before we get into this? Going once, going twice. God's blessed you in some certain way. You want to tell everybody about it? Alrighty then, Daniel chapter 5. Daniel chapter 5. Through the first 4 chapters of Daniel, we're going to kind of review just a moment. The first 4 chapters of Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and a bunch of other young people were taken from their kingdom, from Israel, from Jerusalem, or Judah, and taken to Babylon. And Nebuchadnezzar has been king. Okay, but in Daniel chapter 5, apparently Nebuchadnezzar has passed away. Last week we read about Nebuchadnezzar's testimony, how God took his mind from him for 7 years and then gave it back to him. Okay, but we're going to read, starting Daniel chapter 5, we're going to read several verses just at the beginning of it. And if you have questions, it's kind of informal, so if you have questions or comments, fire away, raise your hand, let me know, okay? Daniel chapter 5, verse 1. Belshazzar, the king, made a great feast unto 1,000 of his lords and drank wine before the 1,000. Stop reading right there. Belshazzar is the grandson of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar is the most powerful king in all the world. And Belshazzar now, I think it's Nebuchadnezzar's daughter's son. And he's probably the one that took over when Nebuchadnezzar lost his mind and was out eating grass in the field for 7 years. Anyway, but so this Belshazzar now, he's inherited this great kingdom, the most powerful kingdom at this point in the history of the world. Okay? Belshazzar the king made a great feast unto 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000. Belshazzar, whilst he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple, which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes and wives and the concubines might drink thereof. So he's going to have Belshazzar's having this big party, and after a few drinks, he said, "Hey, there's those special glasses made out of gold, cups made out of gold and silver that we got from that temple in Jerusalem. Bring those in here. Fill those things with wine. We're going to drink those. Those things were dedicated for God, dedicated to God in David's day, and in some of it going all the way back to Moses' day, but most of it was David and Solomon's day as king of Jerusalem, king of Israel. And so all these things that they gathered when they looted the place, they have there. And Belshazzar, he's had a couple drinks and says, bring those things in here. We're going to drink out of those too. He knows they were dedicated to God, but it doesn't mean anything to him because he doesn't know who God is. Why would it make any difference to him? It's like half the heathen people in the world today. God doesn't mean anything to them. They don't even believe in God. I don't think Belshazzar does either. But he's named Bel, God save the king, or God protect the king. Belshazzar means his family believes in a God, but not God. Okay? So let's read on. A couple more verses. Then they brought in the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem. And the king and his princes and his wives and his concubines drank therein. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver and brass and iron and wood and of stone. So they've got all these little statues around. They start praising these little wood and stone and brass and gold and all these little idols that all the world has. They have all these idols set up, and they're having quite a party going on, right? God doesn't like that kind of party, okay? He never has, okay? So when he sees it, he knows everything that's going to happen anyway. He's already got this planned out. He allows them to do what they want to do until the time's done, okay? So Belshazzar's had a couple of drinks, but then he sees something that he's never seen before. I'm going to read this, okay? We're going to read a lot tonight. In the same hour came the fingers of a man's hand and wrote over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loosed, and his knees smote one against another. The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, and the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing shall show me the interpretation thereof, shall be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold about his neck, shall be the third ruler in the kingdom. Stop reading right there. So Belshazzar, he knows he had a few drinks, but they see something on the wall. And it gets his attention. And he thinks, am I just seeing things? Am I hallucinating because I had too much to drink here? But he looks and everyone else is looking up too. And the hand is a man's, like, what was that TV show we was watching, Cousin It, come up out of the box, okay? Right, okay. That's right, Vicky's favorite show. She still watches reruns. Oh, there's no box on the wall, okay? It's just a hand writing words on the wall. And everybody stops. The music stops, the party's over, the drinking has ended, okay? And God's wrote him a message. So he calls all his, he has 1,000 people there in his courtyard or in his house, his palace, okay? He has 1,000 people there celebrating this great kingdom that he has, that he's inherited, didn't do anything to get it, he just inherited it. And the party is over, and everyone's looking at that wall trying to figure out what it is. So he calls his astrologers in, and his magicians, and his Chaldeans, and everybody's supposed to know something. All his educated people come in, they look at that and say, that's interesting. He said, what's it mean? I don't know. What's this say? I don't know. Rebecca was about 4 years old, and she was learning how to write. And she wrote a whole bunch of letters down on a piece of paper, okay? She held it up to her mom, and she said, see, what's that say? And Tammy said, I don't know. Rebecca said, you went to school, didn't you? The words were not, she didn't write anything. He just wrote these letters on a page. Everybody's looking at this stuff on the wall and said, I don't know what that means. And even the smart guys come in, the educated guys, the smart, wisest, quote, wisest men in all the world come in. They look at it and say, we can't tell you what that means. We have no idea what that means. Okay? So let's read on. Verse 9. Then the king Belshazzar was greatly troubled, and his countenance was changed in him, and his lords were astonished, because he looks like he's about to go crazy right now. First he was upset about it, because he had a couple drinks and saw this thing. First he was upset about it, but now his countenance changed. He's mad about it, because he can't get an answer from all his men. He's been paying these guys all his life, or all their lives, to tell him stuff, and now they can't give an answer. Now the queen, this is his mother, by reason of the words of the king and his lords came into the banquet house. She wasn't there for the party, but she showed up. And the queen spake and said, O king, live forever. Let not thy thoughts trouble thee, nor let thy countenance be changed. There was a man in thy kingdom, in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And in the days of thy father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, was found in him, whom the king Nebuchadnezzar, thy father, the king, I say, thy father, made master magicians, astrologers, Chaldeans, and soothsayers, for as much as an excellent spirit and knowledge and understanding, interpretation of dreams, and showing of hard sentences, and dissolving of doubts, were found in this same Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar, same name you have. Now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation. His mom walks in, his mom came in, she said, I heard what's going on. Nobody knows what that says, but there's a guy that works for your dad that can answer every question you ever had. You don't know him. You should. You don't know this guy, but you really need to. You should. Actually, all your life you've been told about him, but you never went to next door to see what he said about anything. You weren't concerned about wisdom because you always got your way. Okay, so you call for Daniel. The spirit of the gods, holy gods, not the gods you serve, not these little idols that we have around here. The spirit of the holy God. There's something different about this guy. Have him come in. He'll tell you, I guarantee it. He knows the answers to everything. Okay? Let's read on. Verse 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, Art thou that Daniel, which art of the children of the captivity of Judah, whom the king my father brought out of the Jewry? I mean, you were a slave in Jew, like you were brought here. Okay? You were nobody, and my father brought you here, right? Because that's the way he would look at this guy, because he's a Jew. They consider him like dogs, okay? You were nobody, my father brought you here. Actually, my grandfather, but my father brought you here and gave you this great position and everything about. So, are you that Daniel that I've heard about? Okay, let's read this. I have even heard of thee, that the Spirit of the gods is in thee, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom is found in thee. And now the wise men and the astrologers have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known unto me the interpretation there, but they could not show the interpretation of the thing. And I have heard of thee, that thou canst make interpretation to dissolve doubts. Now if thou canst read the writing and make known to me the interpretation thereof, thou shalt be clothed with scarlet, and have a chain of gold about thy neck, and shall be third ruler in the kingdom. And Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be thyself. I don't need a robe or a gold chain about my neck. I don't need any of that stuff. Give thy rewards to another, yet I will read the writing unto the king and make known unto him the interpretation. Stop reading right there. Okay? I want to back up to just a couple verses in this. When Daniel first walks in, the king says, verse 14, he said, I've heard of thee. Okay? And verse 16 says, I've heard of thee, thou canst make interpretation, do this stuff. This is sad. Okay? To me, this verse is almost as sad as when Adam and Eve sinned in the Garden of Eden, and then they went and sowed fig leaves and tried to hide themselves, and Jesus, the voice of God, came walking through the garden in the cool of the day, because every evening Jesus would walk in the garden. The fleshly part of God, Jesus Christ, would come down in the Garden of Eden and walk with Adam, and they'd talk about their day. Okay? He knew what Adam's day was like. He knew everything, created all the trees, and spoke them all into existence, and fish and birds and all that. He did all this stuff, and Jesus had this relationship with Adam that he would come down and walk with him every evening. But then one evening, when Adam and Eve sinned, Jesus came down and said, Adam, Adam, and Adam didn't answer. To me, that's the saddest verse in the Bible, okay? Because Adam didn't answer for a while, okay? Because they finally said, we're over here. Why are you going over there? He said, we're hiding. Why? Because we're naked, okay? Because we sinned, we did something we're supposed to do, okay? Now, to me, that's the saddest thing. Just as sad as that is this. There are great men, talking about Daniel in this story, that have the Spirit of God living inside of them, and people don't listen to them. People don't care what they say. People that have grown up in their churches and don't give a hoot about what they say. What's he know? He's an old guy. I remember there's a guy that I can't think of his name. He was pastoring. He pastored for like 60-some years. He quit pastoring church and started pastoring again when he was 87 years old. And I can't think of his name, but he was pastoring up at one of the churches that Tommy and Ruth went to at one time up the head of some holler. And he was like in his 80s and he's still pastoring church. And everyone just kind of liked being around him because he's 80-some years old and still had the Spirit of God, this fire inside of him. And they said, why? He's remodeling. He's 87 years old or something like that. He's remodeling his church. So why is he remodeling the church? Why do they need new pews? Well, they had old pews, new carpet and stuff like that. Why would they? How long is he going? He's not going to live to see that carpet wore out. It didn't really matter. Okay, everyone just loved to be around this guy. Okay, why? He had that kind of wisdom. It's sad to me that so many people grow up in church they don't know the wise people around them. In recent conversations, I've always had, me and David Underwood have always had this conversation. I mean, different people in the church have always had this conversation around the people who we've been around all our life that are just tremendous, wise, godly people that we've always got to be around. I think about Preacher Dave almost every day of my life. I think about things he taught us, or things that we did together, because it was a real spiritual, Brother John, going hunting together. Yeah, kind of, okay? But it was just fun, okay? And life was just, and going back to Lloyd, our pastor, one time when I got saved, going back to all these people that influenced my life, I've always looked up to them and enjoyed just being in their presence and these things. I would hate the idea that the next generation said, who? Someone told me that, of course, Lee Robertson pastored a church in Tennessee, became like one of the largest churches east of the Mississippi. It's a huge church. He started Tennessee Temple University. He's a great preacher. Everyone loved to have him preach. And then after he retired from his pastorate, he would travel around different places, okay, and preach for different churches. He came preach when we were in college several times. And someone told me that he went to, while we were still in school, that he went back to the university, to the church that he started, and walked in and nobody recognized him. He hadn't been gone for a year. Okay, he'd just been pastoring. He'd been their pastor. He walked in, no one acknowledged him. He went to the college where he had started the college. This is my understanding of the story, if I got it right. He went to the gymnasium at the college where there's a basketball game was going on, and he just walked in and sat down, and no one noticed that he was there. No one came up to him and said, ask him questions. No one wanted his wisdom. And all the other preachers around him that had grown up listening to him, like Clarence Sexton, just loved to go to hear, ask him questions, or people would go to him all the time and just glean knowledge from him. It is sad to me that Belshazzar grew up with his father being not the wisest, being the most powerful king around, and the wisest man, the only person in his lifetime that he knew he could put 100% trust in everything he said was Daniel. And Belshazzar, growing up in his house, never met him. Never met him. Can you imagine if your dad's best friend was Bill Gates? Bill Gates is the computer guy, right? Your dad's best friend was Bill Gates. Had dinner at your dad's house all the time, right? And you might go to your dad's house and just to get something, and they say, Bill Gates is in here for dinner. You want to join us? I know. What if your dad's best friend was Warren Buffett? He one of like the wisest financial guys in the world, right? One of the multi-billionaire type people who tells everybody what to do with the money and does well with his. He said when the economy crashes and the stocks drop down to zero, he said, don't go picking up buying the stocks and thimbles. Go out and get big 5-gallon buckets and buy everything you can because the price is going to go back up. He'll make $1 billion in the next day. Okay, if he was your dad's best friend, wouldn't you want to go to him and say, wouldn't you want to just sit in his presence and listen to him about finances? Right? I mean, I think I would. My dad's best friends were not Warren Buffett or any of these billionaire people, but I love being around them. Right? I just like being around to listen. They served. They not just served in the church. They served. They defeated the Japanese and the Germans in World War II, and they lived through all this stuff. And I kind of like being around those people. My uncles and my dad's friends. Just as a kid, I like being around those people. Okay. Belshazzar never got it. He cannot get an answer for truth from his counselors or anybody around him, because truth comes from God. He's never paid attention to anything his father taught him about God. Okay, even the previous chapter 4 that we read that his father wrote, apparently never read it. Okay, I've heard of the sad thing. There was a saying that I heard 30-some years ago that I didn't quite understand, because when Tam and I we got saved when we were 17 years old. We'd been in church, but I was a heathen. I was an ungodly person, and when I got saved when I was 17 years old, my life was transformed completely. Okay, everything about me changed. My language changed. My clothing changed. Everything about me changed. Okay, I'm still sinful, but something inside of me changed completely. Okay, it's called first generation Christianity. From the day we got saved to this day, we've been growing. We're not perfect in our lives, but we've never been the people that we were before. Okay. Shortly after we got saved, I heard this term of second generation Christianity. That means people that were heathen people and got saved and then stayed in church all their life, but then they raised their children up in church, and their kids don't know anything different than that life. Okay? They don't know, those kids, second generation Christianity, a lot of times don't know anything different than going to Sunday school and church, because of what they always do. Memorizing scriptures, because what we always do. They don't know anything outside those walls, outside their home, the boundaries of their home, or the boundaries of the church, and they don't know anything outside that, and they don't. So, but it doesn't. The sad part is, for most people, most kids. Rebecca went to Christian school. Most of the kids that she went to school with never stayed in church, did they? Okay, why? Any of them? Just a few. Rachel, just a couple. Okay, but most of them say, "Well, it doesn't mean anything." It did for the people that were on their way to hell. And Jesus changed their life, and it's drastically changed, and now they're on the way to heaven. I mean, that day is set. September, August, I think it's 22nd, the day that Tammy and I got saved. We're going to hell as fast as we could. We got saved. Now we're going to heaven, and God's blessed us every day of our lives since then. I can never paint the picture bad enough as to what hell was going to be like. Okay? So I can't understand the second generation Christianity of people growing up saying, that doesn't mean anything. Oh, I know the story for Daniel. Okay? Oh, Jesus walked on water. Oh, he raised the dead. Okay? It's nothing new. Right? Jared, you go to school with preacher boys out there at the college that second generation Christianity meant nothing to them? I mean, their first year in Bible college was just like the 13th year of Christian school, okay? And it really meant nothing to them. To me, it's sad because there's so many people that say, well, and I think about so many kids who grew up in our church, Charlie's age, or between Charlie's age and high school age now, that grow up, that go back and memorize verses, but, Mom and Dad didn't get divorced. Well, Mom and Dad didn't get divorced because they sat back in a preacher's office one night and kept them from getting divorced. Okay? They grew up in a Christian home, and it really didn't mean anything to them to have a Christian home. They had no idea what the value of that, just like Belshazzar has no idea what the value of having Daniel in his life would have meant. Okay? Any questions on that? Any questions on what second generation Christianity is? Okay? First generation Christianity, someone's on the way to hell, and they say, here's the straight and narrow boundary. Here's right and wrong boundaries. We're going to draw it in right here. We're going to live as close as we can. Because we want what's right. We know what hell's like. We don't want to go there, and we don't want our friends to go there. But second generation Christianity is the people that set their boundaries up. Next generation over, or two generations down, that the Christianity is nothing like Mom and Dad's Christianity, or Grandma and Grandpa's Christianity. I heard a man preach the other day on holiness in the church. I can't remember which preacher. One of the preachers I was listening on the radio was talking about holiness. He said it's completely different terminology than what it was 40 years ago. Okay? Any questions on this? Okay? Here's the rest of the story. Okay? I don't want anybody in this room to think of, it's just another story from Brother John. Just go read another Bible story. Okay? It shouldn't be that way. There ought to be something that changes with every message that you hear. Brother John, I've heard so many life-changing messages, I don't know who I am anymore. Which way am I going? Okay, what am I supposed to do? With every message, I have some hook in it that says, yeah, that's for me. Can't you ever leave here and think, was he talking to me? Yeah. It wasn't me talking to you. It's the Holy Spirit talking to you. Say, okay? Okay? There's destruction. Stay back from it. Okay? Here's the rest of the story. So Daniel's in there. Belshazzar says, you read that? I know I should have called you a year ago. Maybe I should have listened to my grandpa when he said, come see you, and I didn't do it. Okay? But I didn't. Belshazzar said, yeah, here's what it means. Meaning, technically, you farce. It's not good. You really want to know the interpretation of this? I'll read it for you. Meaning technically, you farce. He said, you want to know what that means? Belshazzar says, yeah, I want to know what that means. By now, he was instantly sober, but when he saw that writing on the wall, right? He's not drinking anymore. Let's read it, okay? We're down verse 25. And this is the writing that was written. Many tekel upharsin. This is an interpretation of the thing. Meaning, God has numbered thy kingdom and finished it. That means your days are over. Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and found wanting. Phares, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. Really? Here's what it means. So here's Daniel standing there talking. Don't read on. Hey, don't go ahead of me. So Daniel said, tonight's your last night. Your kingdom's over. And God's even told me who he's going to give it to. He's going to give it to the Medes and Persians. The kingdom is going to be divided after you by the Medes and Persians, which is like Iraq and Iran dividing the late nation. You're going to have it. Okay? And he said, it's over for you. Okay? Remember the story Jesus told a guy that man said,
he said, I've done so well. I've got to tear down my barns and build bigger. And God said, thou fool, this night thy soul shall be required of thee, because all you were concerned about was gold and silver and having more stuff. Okay? And it did, all that stuff didn't mean anything in the long run. Tonight your soul will be required of you. And it's what Daniel's telling, that's what God is telling, using Daniel to do it. Okay? Let's read on. Verse 30, we want to read it, verse 30, because 29 says they want to give Daniel all this stuff, but he don't care about it. Okay? In that night, verse 30, in that night was Belshazzar the king of Chaldeans slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So the guy took over by 62 years old. Okay, yeah. He's the king. I can imagine. How would you like to live your life? You think, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I'm the king of the world, right? It's over. Okay? And the person you should have listened to is come back and say, why did you do that? Why didn't you come see me before? The answer was right here the whole time. And you took God's cup, poured your wine in it, and said, look at me. Billy Sunday, one of the greatest preachers ever, evangelist in the 1920s. He was a professional baseball player. And got saved. I think if I remember the story right, he was a drunk, became a professional baseball player. Then he got saved and became a great evangelist. But his kids didn't follow his footsteps. And his kids look at his ministry as being a prosperous ministry. So one of his children was raising a glass to his father's prosperous ministry because he made a lot of money, okay, in his ministry, in his evangelism. His kids became drunks. And once he found out about it, he never preached again. I understand the story right. Billy Sunday never preached another message after hearing about his own children in the situation they got into. Okay, why? Because he tried to win the world and couldn't win his own kids. Okay. Tam and I had this conversation recently. Instead of going to people that grew up in church and going to them and say, "We're going to church now," okay? Because they ought to be going to church. Instead of saying that, say, "Where are you serving now?" Okay? Because a lot of people never get it. A lot of times in second Christianity goes up in church saying, I'm here to play games, okay? I'm here to have fun. I'm here to see what food you got back here for us, okay? And a lot of kids, there's kids that come here, there's kids that come here with us and then they say, well, we don't want to come here anymore. We'll go to Maranatha because they got better food on this night. Okay. We've got that before, you know. Ooh, you got chips, Coke. But you got chips and Kool-Aid. Or that's at the healthy kids drink. Okay. Okay, we'll go to the Maranatha and get greasy food and pop. Okay. Sad part, second generation Christianity. It happens with business. It happens with business. It happens with good homes that raise kids up to not have good homes. It happens with church all the way through life. You decide, do I want something different? Do I want to find the Daniel is and listen to him? Do I really want to know what Daniel says, what God says? And you decide that for yourself, and you decide that for your kids. Hey, Charlie, you've been here since we started the church. Well, not just talk about tonight since 7:15 when we started the church, but you've been here since we started the church. But you want your kids to have something different, right? First generation Christianity may be your mom and dad, but you decided you want to have this second generation Christianity act like the first generation Christianity, so you all come and serve, right? And you want to teach your kids to do the same thing, to serve, because getting this means you're going to ask Daniel for wisdom. Now, I'm not saying I'm Daniel. I'm saying you're going to ask God for wisdom, and you'll get that wisdom and pass it on to the next generation, and treat them like they're first generation Christians, so they can see the difference. Right? Any questions? Comments? Anybody concerned about what the next generation is going to be like? I do. I think about it all the time. Okay. I wonder how many people in the last month have realized I can sit on my couch all my life and get a check from the government and never have to work again. Okay? To me, that's sad because it means no purpose in life. That's life. Okay? Something inside of me says, I want something different. I want this. been a great journey so far. I don't want to see many technical enforcement written on my wall. Okay? And we still use the same term. A lot of biblical terms used today. Handwriting on the wall. They use that term. They use that term all the time. Sports analogies. Politicians use that term. Or people talk about politicians like they're your career's over. You see the handwriting on the wall. It's still being used today. How it won't be used for us? Questions? Comments? Let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for loving us. Thank you for the truth you've given us tonight. I pray you help us each one of us to live our life as a first generation Christian, to be on fire for you, to love you and serve you. Pass it on to our kids. They will be second generation or third generation Christians, but help them to learn how to be like the first generation Christians that are a witness for Christ and on fire for you. That really love you. Not just accept the gift. If anyone who listens to my voice has never trusted Christ as a Savior, we want them to trust Christ as their Savior. To accept the gift of salvation, but then also to come back and say, what can I do? What does God want me to do? What does God want done? How can I fit in? How does he want me to serve? Please use us for your glory, not to be like Belshazzar and miss out on the Daniels in our life. Thank you for the Daniels that you've given us throughout all our lives that have been that influence on us. Please use us for your glory. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen. Thank you. Dismissed.